You're listening to Dingin' Out, a podcast about wasting time in awesome ways. My name is David, and you can find me terrorizing the streets of Gotham as Sandbox Quint. On today's episode, we talk a little bit of Final Fantasy XIV's expansion, and of course, Batman Arkham Knight. But beware, spoilers are abound. Today's recording date is Tuesday, July 7th. This is episode number 6. Alright everybody, welcome back to the show. Hope you all had a nice couple of weeks. I definitely did. Finally starting to recover from the mayhem that was E3. And it's good to be back to normal. Back on a normal schedule. Although I'm in Southern California and, it has been hot out here. But it's all good. So I'm going to jump right into this Final Fantasy XIV's expansion. Everything that I've read about it seems that it's just amazing. People are loving it, saying not only is it a great story for an MMO, it's a great story for games, period. So why haven't I been able to see this yet? I'm kind of annoyed right now with Final Fantasy XIV. And, you know, this can be chalked up to my own fault, I suppose. Just in the fact that I kind of lost interest in the game a little while ago. I had plenty of time to get completely caught up and ready for this expansion. I just got distracted by other things. But here's my issue. The expansion's out. You can't actually go into the expansion until you've completed all the preceding story elements. And that is fine, because it's one continuing story arc. And that's cool. I like that. What I don't like, and what I can't stand, is content gating. And that is one of the few criticisms I have about Final Fantasy XIV is the fact that they gate so much content in that game. And it mainly has to do with like eye level stuff. Now I understand, you know, in the game proper, yeah, you should make sure that you are gear wise, you are prepared to go and take on whatever challenge you're going to be going in for. So you're not holding other people back, because it is a multiplayer game. So you want to make sure that you're ready to go. Although I feel like in a story, if you're just playing through the story, I feel like those rules shouldn't apply, as opposed to, going in for raiding or something like that. But the problem with Final Fantasy is what they do is they incorporate dungeons and instances into the main storyline, and a lot of those dungeons and instances are hidden behind item level gates. So my most recent issue is that I think I was item level 80. And I need to be item level 90 to get to the next part of the story. If I was a tank, this wouldn't be a problem, because for tanks, well, let me say why this is an issue. Because the only way you can raise your item level once you're at this point of the game is basically by dungeon grinding. You have to get these Tombstones of Poetics or get the dropped gear out of dungeons in order to raise your item level. For a tank, this is not a problem. Tanking queues are pretty much instant. Healing queues are a lot faster than DPS, not as fast as tanks. And if you're a DPS player, like myself, you can sit in a queue for an hour. And so when you're looking at like a gap of like 5 or 10 item levels just to complete the next quest in the main storyline, like I'm almost done with the main storyline. I'm on the last chapter. You know, so it's just getting to that point, getting to the item level. Now, for me, this is probably going to take this could be like 2 days worth of dungeon grinding, just because I have to sit in a queue for a half hour, 45 minutes on average to get into a dungeon. And if I get a piece, then great. Sometimes you don't. And, I think you get about 150 tombstones per dungeon, something like that. And for a piece of gear, it ranges anywhere from like 500 to 900-ish tombstones. So it's going to be a long haul for me. And it kind of sucks, because you get to the point where I'll open up the launcher and I'll log in and I'll sit there and I'm like, just remember that, oh, I have to dungeon grind in order to complete this story to get into the expansion. I feel like there's a better way to do it. And if there is, I haven't found it. I feel like once the expansion comes out and this content is no longer relevant, make it a little bit easier to attain that standard eye level to be able to complete the story to get into the expansion. Because right now, it's like it's taken away my motivation completely. And, you know, I'm going to do it. I just kind of have to get up the motivation to actually want to spend a few hours to a day or two grinding dungeons. You know, and the problem is not the dungeons themselves either. It's just the queue time for DPS. And I know this is not Square's fault. I could play a tank, and actually I would prefer to play a tank. In most MMOs, I play tank. It's what I like to do. The only problem is they made the Dragoon class so damn badass that it's like, I don't want to play anything else. I don't want to play a paladin. I don't want to play a warrior. I like the Dragoon as a class. So here's my solution. Square Enix, give me a tanking spec for my Dragoon. I'll play tank. I think a lot of Dragoons would probably end up doing that if you gave them a tanking spec. It would certainly help with the queues all around. Although, you know, maybe with the Dark Knights and stuff now, that's going to get a little bit better. Because that is one class I definitely do want to check out, is the Dark Knight. But you can't get to that until you're in the expansion. But it looks like a fun tanking class. So, my rage for Final Fantasy XIV. That's, you know, I haven't really gotten into it. I've got the collector's edition, got it sitting right here, ready to go, wanted to play, you know, and then I just remembered, I'm just stuck. So, I just need to do it. Just need to suck it up, not complain, and just get it taken care of. Because, you know, like I said, everything I've read about the expansion, people are just absolutely loving it. I think someone from Massively Overpowered now, they said that this is as close to a perfect MMO expansion as you can get, or that anyone's ever gotten. So we'll see. Either way, I can't wait to actually get this done with and to get into the expansion, because it just, oh man, it looks so awesome. So anyway, speaking of Dark Knights, it's time to get on to the main discussion topic for this evening, and that is Batman, the Arkham Knight. So I'm going to start off by giving the big spoiler alert warning here, just to let you guys know I'm going to be talking about some story stuff, and if you haven't played the game yet, then by all means, do not listen to this, because I would hate to ruin your experience, because it is awesome just to let it unfold as it does. So jumping right in, let's go over some of the news. Batman Arkham Knight caused a big stir in the media when it came out, and not for very good reasons. The biggest thing that people had to complain about, and that was affecting me as well, are the bugs on the PC. And in fact, they were so bad that Steam pulled it. Steam actually pulled this game down, not for sale, and then Warner Brothers decided to do it across the board for the PC. How does this happen? How does a game, a AAA game like this that has so much money in development and all that stuff, come out just so awfully buggy? It doesn't make sense. I feel like, I don't know if Rocksteady's to blame on this, or if Warner Brother Games are blaming this, or you know, I don't know the studio that was in charge of doing the, I guess the PC version is a port of the console version, so whoever did that, you know, I don't know. But it's something that I feel like in 2015 we should not be having to deal with anymore. But I feel like it's only getting more prevalent. I feel like with the ability to patch games post-launch, companies are more willing to just try and meet a deadline and then say, we'll patch it later. Just get it out the door. We need to make our money, you know? And that's the wrong way to do it. I mean, I feel like people will be a lot more forgiving if you wait. You know, just be open with the people, transparent, talk to them and say, hey, look, we ran into some issues with this game, the final testing. We want to make sure that it's a flawless, fun experience for you guys. We're going to delay it 3 weeks, a month, whatever, until we get this thing perfect. It's one of the reasons why Blizzard games are always so polished when they come out. Granted, the launch of the original World of Warcraft was a disaster. But I don't feel like that had to do with so much of the game as opposed to the ridiculous amount of people that were not expected to be playing that when it came out. But anyways, going off track. So game companies need to start shaping up. They need to realize that people want to play a finished product. They don't want bugs. They don't want to spend their money on crap that is just being pushed out to meet a deadline. It's not fair to us. We're paying, our $50, $60, whatever it is. We deserve something that's finished. I mean, how would you feel if you ordered a meal and it came out and it was like partially frozen? Yeah, you could send it back, reheat it, but that kind of sucks, So no, they need to get these things done and put them out the door. So as far as some of the bugs, at least the ones that I've noticed, and actually I think I've been very fortunate and I haven't had a lot of problems. I've had a few crash to desktops. I've had a few problems where my screen will just go gray and I'll have to do like a hard restart on my computer. And yes, I have most updated video card drivers and all that stuff. The biggest issue though that I've been having is anytime I call the Batmobile and start getting into some Batmobile action, and if you're watching the video version of this podcast, you'll see what I'm talking about, but every once in a while the frame rate will just completely crush. Like, it'll go down to a slideshow, like 1 frame a second sometimes, to where it looks like a picture. It's just frozen, and it'll stay that way for 3 to 5 seconds, and then it'll slowly catch up with itself. It's almost like it's buffering or something, and then it's fine, for a while. And then I can drive around the Batmobile, no problem, all that stuff. But if I get into some action, some tanks cruise up on me, something like that, it'll crush again for a few minutes, or a few seconds, and then go back to normal, and then I can continue to play. I've never died from it. I've never even come close to dying from it. So for the most part, because honestly the game is so good, I just played through it. I didn't let it bother me too much. And so it's just one of those things. Yeah, I could have waited. I mean, I know they have a plan to fix it and to patch it out and all that stuff, but at least for what I was experiencing, it wasn't super bad. Now, going into the story of this game, and this is where the spoilers are going to come in, it is one of the best stories of a game. Like, it is so good. First off, the main villain is the Scarecrow. And of course, I mean, he is, as far as Batman stuff goes, 'cause I'm a big Batman fan, he is absolutely, has always been one of my favorite villains. Even in like Batman the Animated Series, just because of the amount of just what he does, just with the fear toxin, and just terrifies people and drives them mad. It's, as far as villains go, I mean, he's terrifying, and that's awesome. It makes it for a very good villain. I like the Joker, but sometimes it's a little too kooky, a little bit too wacky for me. And that's okay though. He's still good, but I was really, really excited when I saw that Scarecrow was playing a huge villain role in this game. The other villain, of course, is the Arkham Knight, who is like a mercenary. He's got an army of robotic tanks and helicopters and basically a whole army of people. And they've marched on Gotham to come and take out the Batman. And suspiciously, he happens to know everything about you as Batman. He knows your identity. He knows your correspondence. He knows all of your tech. He knows your techniques. He knows everything. Very suspicious. But I'll get into that a little bit later. So the main kind of point of the Arkham Knight story is Batman's descent into madness. If you've played Batman Arkham City and you played it all the way through, at the end of that game, basically the story of that game is Joker is sick. He's got some kind of illness in his blood. Partway through the game, he injects you as Batman with his blood, and you're now sick and you're looking for the cure, and that's the point of that game. At the end of that game, you end up drinking half the cure, and as you're going to give the other half to Joker to cure him, he stabs you, you drop the vial, it breaks, and he dies. Joker dies, end of Arkham City. That's it. So Batman Arkham Knight picks up with the funeral pyre of the Joker. He's getting cremated, all that stuff. And then all hell breaks loose with Scarecrow and the Arkham Knight. And it all goes from there. So one of your first run-ins with the Scarecrow, Batman gets hit with a dose of fear toxin. And then from that point on, he starts to see the Joker, starts hallucinating the Joker. And they did it in such a cool way to where you'll walk through an area and say it's a dead end. So you go to turn around to go out where you came in, and all of a sudden Joker's sitting on a bench off to the left, and he just starts talking to you. So it's almost like he's your little Jiminy Cricket. He's like your conscience, and he's just kind of narrating scenes to you, adding a lot of color commentary to scenarios, and it's done so well. At just perfect timing. Of course, Mark Hamill as the Joker, he is the best Joker of any version. And so it was great to have him back. Even though he doesn't really play a villain role in this game, he sort of does. He kind of plays the little devil on your shoulder. He's always trying to drive you a little crazy, always trying to push you to do bad things or make the wrong choice. And it's great. It's really, really great the way they did it. One thing that this game does that some of the other Batman games also haven't done is it goes really dark, like really, really dark. As far as going into the whole time when the Joker paralyzed Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, shot her in her apartment. They go into the brutal torture and, quote, murder of one of Batman's Robins, Jason Todd, at the hands of the Joker. And that kind of leads into the Arkham Knight. They started hinting towards this early on in the game. Just with the way, when you have your run-ins with the Arkham Knight, the way he talks to you, he's got a serious grudge against you. He's very angry, and he knows everything about you. It's kind of, it's very suspicious, you know. He knows, like I said, he knows everything. And then comes a scene where you are in a theater. And you're walking through this theater, you're trying to recover some other people who have been infected by Joker's blood that Batman was previously trying to have cured. And as you're walking through this theater, you're kind of hallucinating a little bit. And you start to see what the Joker had done to Jason Todd by tormenting him, by torture, by convincing him that Batman is the reason why he is suffering, that Batman has simply moved on, didn't care about him, got a new Robin to take his place. You know, all the while he's beating him and burning him and carving in his face, and, you know, just, it's awful. It's really, really grim story. And it was at that point where I realized that this can't be randomly in here for no other reason. This is going to be the Arkham Knight. It's going to be Jason Todd, and this is going to be their way of introducing the Red Hood. Now, if you don't know, Jason Todd really did not die at the hands of the Joker. He did come back as the Red Hood. And, you know, as soon as they started putting that in there, I mean, I had my suspicions earlier, like, this guy is probably a former Robin. You know, because there's Nightwings in the game. He was the first Robin, Dick Grayson, and then the current Robin in the game is Tim Drake. So, you know, I had my feelings like this, I'll bet it's Jason Todd. And then sure enough, it comes out, it is. And this is their way of implementing the Red Hood. And it's cool. I mean, it's done well. I'm not going to lie. I was a little disappointed in that I was able to kind of guess it so early in the game. There might have been some stuff that was just a little too on the nose. Because I'm sure it was meant to be like this big... oh my God, you know, I can't believe it kind of moment. But when it happened, I was like, that's what I figured, you know? And it was a little bit of a letdown. But not to take anything away from the game from that. I mean, it was just such an amazing game. So awesome to go through. So as far as what I've completed in Arkham Knight, I've gone all the way through the main story. I've completed a lot of the side missions. The only things I have left, there's a few side missions with the Penguin and a few side missions with Harvey Dent, Two-Face. I've got some of those to complete left, and I've got there's like 250 Riddler challenges to do. I want 100% it because there is a true ending to the game once you 100% it. And yeah, I kind of went and spoiled myself, and I watched it after I beat the main story because I wasn't convinced I was going to go 100% it. And I'm still not convinced I'm going to 100% it, but the true ending of the game, I mean, it's great. It's so good. So I kind of just want to do it. So, I don't know. Another part of the game I really like, and a lot of people kind of don't like, or at least the vocal minority don't say they don't like, or maybe majority, I don't know, is the whole Batmobile stuff. I mean, yeah, of course, when you're playing on PC and your frames get crushed to like 1 or 2 frames a second for a few seconds, like that sucks, obviously. But the rest of the Batmobile stuff I thought was fun. I mean, I don't mind the fact that a lot of these Riddler challenges are Batmobile race courses that you kind of have to figure out. That's kind of fun to me. The tank mode in that thing is awesome, just strafing and shooting and blowing up drones and all that. The only thing I will say about it is that some of those tank missions can go on a little too long when you're sitting there for 5 minutes and having to just blow up tanks nonstop. Like that kind of is a little bit overboard. But for the most part, it's fun. It's fun trying to figure out how to get this thing up onto rooftops and trying to complete these missions and all this stuff, and you gotta use the winch to kind of pull yourself up or to bend things so that you can launch off it like a ramp. And I feel like it was implemented very well. It's really fun to just go full bore through the city in that thing, drifting around corners and stuff. I don't mind it at all, not one bit. So if for some reason you haven't played Arkham Knight and you decided to listen to this giant spoiler cast anyways, well, I'm sorry if I spoiled the game and ruined it for you. However, I do think you should definitely go pick it up and still play it because it is just a fun game to play through. Compared to the other Arkham games, it's so fluid. All of the motions in that game, all of the just action and fighting and gadgets and everything. I mean, it just works so well. I feel like it's so much more fluid than the other Arkham games. I went back because before, when I got Arkham Knight, I had to go back and actually finish Arkham City. Turned out I was only about an hour away from doing that, so that was cool. And just the transition from Arkham City to Arkham Knight in the fluidity of combat is just it feels very, very different. Not I wouldn't say very different, but it feels different enough to where you notice it, and in a very good way. So anyways, now that this game is over, it's going to be interesting to see what Rocksteady has to do next, because according to them, I mean, this is their last Arkham game. A lot of people are speculating, maybe they're going to do a Superman game or something, or who knows? I don't know. Hopefully they get this thing fixed on the PC. Number one priority, get that thing fixed, and then I'm really looking forward to whatever they do next. So that's it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. Had a great time. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I know it was kind of a little bit of a grouchy cast, but that's okay. You can't all be happy and ponies and teddy bears and stuff. So anyways, be sure to check out the website dingout.com, dingout.com. Find me on Twitter or twitch.tv at sandboxquint. And of course, if you want to talk to me, send me an email, sandboxquint@gmail.com. Thanks again, and I'll see you back in a couple of weeks.